So we open up in not in the city of Freeburg, but well, yes, in the city of Freeburg, down in the southern portion of it in Finerhearth, um, at the newly acquired Draken's Tooth, the drinking hall and uh, place of the um, the Wakund, the watchdogs, um, where there's sort of a collection of different officers of one Kelby Loring, as Hans is learning the trade of bartending to mercenaries. Um, what he has discovered in the course of this is that they're not super particular about the exact mix of their drinks. They are super particular about the amount of the pour.
Ah,
like, like if you don't get the mixture exactly right, that's fine, so long as you don't try to miss them out on anything or leave them with a dry drink. Uh, uh, they all have like sort of like stories to share. Big Al is like happy to tell the stories of like the time that like Kelby went into battle with like Justice Panzerhands and like took weapons from everybody that they were fighting and like beat them with their own weapons until he had like dented or damaged it enough that he needed a new one, and they would just strip the next one off of like the next person coming at him. But like for the more important details, the kind of like Kelby Loring for Kelby Loring, it's actually his second that goes back and who served with him since he was in the 30 Years' War. Um, and the tale he spins is one that like Hans can easily sort of like find himself in, of like a young Kelby Loring with a father who had enough money to send him to the Kip Academy, which Hans had heard of. Like Hans kind of like wanted to get into, but it was at the time that he was going there, there was enough concern about whether war was going to break out or not, and that kind of stuff. Like, um, it was definitely a Southern institution. Hans would have been able to be accepted there. Um, but Kelby Loring was ahead of him by years. The number of years that like Hans has lost is undetermined to him. But the
okay.
war hadn't ended by the time he died. And the war has been over for several years as of now. So he's fairly sure that it's been at least a decade that he was in the ground.
Ooh,
Um, Kelby was an outstanding student. He was accepted at 14. Most who come to the academy do so at 18 after they've finished like regular studies. By the time he was 18, he'd been accepted as an officer and he was already serving in the front lines. Um, he struggled to like make his family proud. That was like the entire reason that he went. But as time went on and he got more and more sort of like prowess and acumen and like prestige and stuff like that, the letters became further and further apart. Um, the second, whose name is Ulbricht, and he's sort of like he's the guy who handles the logistics. He's nowhere near like as big as what I'm saying. He's just somebody who's like been with him forever and is good with numbers and math and yeah,
fair enough.
sometimes the strategic elements, you know what I'm saying, but like he doesn't really think of himself as a frontline fighter, despite having survived years at war and probably being more a frontline fighter than most people will ever meet. Um,
Yeah.
um, Kelby was like sort of, he was caught up in like the war and in the prestige. He rose to the rank of colonel, which is second only to a general. And he was like intending to be a general. He knew, like he served directly under Gettle, who was the commander of the Southern forces, and was like eager to get into battle with Strauss, who was the commander of the Northern forces. He was all in. Um, and on one of the battlefields, he met an enemy commander and like crossed the line to him, and the two of them fought for an hour. And an hour in a battle is an intense amount of time. Like most people are utterly out of stamina within minutes. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So there's like a whole process of like retreat and draw back and gather your strength and then come in again and push and it's like a marathon. But they literally like they broke each other's weapons. Like he broke the other one's broadsword. The enemy commander like broke his spear. And at the end of it, he ended up impaling the enemy commander on the broken spear. And it was like the kind of like moment that turned the entire battle, right? And he peeled the commander's helmet off because he was sure he'd been fighting like one of the enemy generals or something like that. And it was his younger brother. He hadn't heard from in years. Like he'd been out of contact, and like in the moment, like Lauren realized that he had literally just taken his own brother's life on a battlefield for prestige, for the honor that he thought would be coming with it. And he walked off the battlefield at that point. Um, and as the second's kind of describing like a few of the years that follow, it's just sort of like dark and dingy bar after dark and dingy bar of like seeking purpose and Loring like drinking far more than he should. um, and uh, and then like in the dark of one night, hearing a scream from outside and finding some woman being like accosted by somebody desperate, somebody poor. Um, and it sort of crystallized for him that he could have a purpose again. And that purpose was like he stopped the the mugging, he ran down the one who'd taken it, he retrieved everything that had been stolen and brought it back. And he didn't like, there are rumors that he like beat the mugger to death. And like the second's like, no, that didn't happen. Like um he says, I know it didn't happen because we brought him into the Wachtturm the next day and started teaching him.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
and says we formed the Wachtturm the next day as well. I just kept pace with him. But that was when everything started. That was when we began to make more of ourselves. We didn't even become a mercenary company until another year later when we realized that we needed a name and a banner and more than just a couple people willing to do whatever Kilby said. Um,
Oh, many twists and turns. It's a most impressive legacy. You are you all have a very good leader.
uh, and like as you kind of say that, like there's the doors opening and they can tell from Kelby's walk, and like he has like nails in the boots of his heels that are like they're not as deep as like the heel requires, so they click when he walks. It's a commander's trick to sort of like get attention. Does that make sense? They know when he's in a room, they know when
Oh,
he's away.
huh.
That modern drill sergeants do it. Like they
Oh,
have a very distinctive walk so that they get used to listening for the drill sergeant. It also means they can just take their boots off and sneak up on him anytime because they make noise everywhere they go.
yeah.
But like it's interesting to sort of see the immediate reaction of like the moment they hear Loring's heels inside of the Dragon's Tooth, they're all sort of naturally like coming to attention. Um, and Loring kind of looks to like three of his officers that are there at the bar. There's like, Raised Ivory's like, we don't own this place anymore.
Oh, it's no trouble, truly.
And Big Al's like, we were invited.
But what time is there in a few drinks among friends, eh?
um, and Loring kind of, you still up for that match?
Of course. You, you needn't ask.
Yeah, and like all the officers are like, they look like keen to watch. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, get out of here. Like, oh, like for them, there's sort of like it's a rematch from like the war that was lost, the big battle. But he kicks them out. Um, he's like, you don't have to. If you feed them booze, they'll keep coming back. They're
They're
like
not,
lost
they're not,
strays.
they're not too bad to have around sometimes.
They're
They
like
can be
ducks.
quite
Feed them, they
entertaining.
won't leave.
Says I
Do not
wanted
feed
you.
the animals.
I just wanted to let you know what would happen. That's how we started with the Rottweilers too. They just someone started feeding them, and then there were more. I don't have any regrets about it.
I mean, they're make good companions. Still have not come up with a name for mine yet.
Uh, he he kind of like lifts it up. Um, and it's like, well, you have to come up with a name for her eventually.
Indeed. Couple pats.
Yeah. He's got his like panzer hands at his side, and like he doesn't look like he's like rushing to the match or anything like that. And he actually like takes a place at the bar. Um, and for the first time, looks like he's like kind of trying to like figure out what to say. Does that make sense? Like he's not good at small talk, and he sort of feels the need to make it.
Fair enough. Are you the kind to have a small drink before important match such as this, or prefer to keep
Uh,
a cool head,
uh,
keep the
he
keep the
says,
senses sharp?
"I've never been in a battle or a fight that didn't benefit from a drink beforehand. Two, you might start to run into problems. Four, certainly."
At that point, oh, any more than two, and oh yeah, no, I'll prep a couple, prep two small drinks for the two of us, just because I kind of want to fight at prime like prime state, just because I think that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
and he's like in the same place, he's well aware he's got years on you, you know what I'm saying? But uh he's a big guy too. Like, and you've seen him move, he's not slow.
Oh, scary.
Um so yeah, he throws the drink back with no problem. Um uh so I'm not gonna like roll out the whole fight. Um but
That's fair.
he like it very quickly um like when you kind of go to the area that's like set up where they have it, like there's some stains in the ground that are like brown that are just like, and you're guessing that they were meticulous enough to clean up the blood regularly, but there's been enough of it over the years. It's just nothing doing for it. Um,
Yeah.
and uh, he says, "You want to go Panzerhand and Blade?" He says, "You just want to lock up." You can learn as much about someone hand to hand.
I mean, I've got to kind of like you'll draw the new sword, and I have to get used to this behemoth somehow.
Um, says never seen Drakenisen like that.
Uh, Maybe I'll tell you a little story after this one. I feel like you've earned it.
Says I'd be interested. Um, so I'm gonna give you his stats like out of game because as you fight him, you're gonna get a good sense of them.
Okay.
All of his heavy weapon knacks are at 5, although he doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily use them unless he's taken your sword from you.
Yep. Checks out.
Because the thing he prefers is just panzer hands. He invented his own school. He's master at it. Um,
Yeah.
the and his brawn, finesse, and wits are all 4. His resolve is a 5, and his panache is a 3. He's a heavy.
Yeah.
Um,
Ooh.
and like kind of over like a long enough timeline, he like will wear Hans down. Does that make sense? He's plenty, but there's a few times where he like locks up and like it's really like fully like arms wrapped around him and stuff like that, like about to like move him to the ground, and there's like an intimacy to it, you know what I'm saying? Or like an awareness of like just how close you both are. That you could tell like the normal natural instinct to attack kind of gets a little bit dulled. Does that make sense? As he's just sort of like aware of the closeness. But he also like, "You're so cold. How have we been fighting?" He's like, "Don't you sweat?"
Uh, it'll make sense eventually. Just
Um,
trust me.
yeah, and Multivator's kind of covering Hans's face before he like spins him over a hip and slams him down on the ground. Just like, "Oh, yep, he weighs a lot."
Yeah, that is. Oh God. Give me a minute.
Says Big Al taught me that one.
Oh, it's effective.
He says he's from some crazy Usaran school where they wrestle trees.
I'm does not surprise me.
Lumberjack school.
He stands up and
Says, why don't you get another drink? Make sure I didn't crack a rib.
yeah, it's a good idea. Why, come sit for a moment.
Yeah.
Give you some of this story. I'll give him the like up to the dying part as kind of the first the first break of however long we kind of spar for.
So the kind of to the point, like up to the point where he got locked into a fight with Posen, or
Up
is he
until
not, or is it like the first night of the battle?
well, I'll get into the fight with Posen and leave the final blow as kind of a bit of a cliffhanger the first time, just to
And then she
just
killed my
'cause.
ass.
Let me just do one thing real quick though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 35 on his wits roll.
Oh.
He does kind of like his brow knits and he says, "I know that fight." He says, "You have a face like a baby."
There's a bit of a discrepancy on my part. He's kind of caught me. I'll give him the extra details. I'll give him up to the waking up in the cart from that point to kind of explain the a bit of my weird state.
Yeah, and he looks like, I mean, are you pulling any functions of like, I remember Posen stabbing me in the heart, or is it?
I mean, there's a bit more storytelling flair, but I think he can tolerate the details, being a pretty experienced veteran himself.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I don't, I don't know any men as I can say have been stabbed in the heart. So doesn't live to talk about it.
That's makes makes for some weird days, I will tell you that.
Says I also know Posen didn't leave very many enemies alive on the battlefield.
But she did not. That's
Checked with a priest, see if you're a ghost.
it's that particular idea never crossed my mind, but checked with a few other people, and it seems like I'm at least mostly still here.
You're prettiest ghoul I've ever met. Ghouls are an actual thing in Eisen. They're like corpse eating things that crawl into like charnel pits and stuff like
They're
that.
like they're like
And they do look
horrifying.
like people, but like they have like they're like there's a parasite that grows into their brain. So like
Yeah.
that's the actual ghoul. Um Honorine is making the faces. Sorry.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, he reaches out and he kind of puts a hand on like Hans's forearm as if like once again kind of reassessing the cold.
It's strange, believe me.
I've heard some odd stories over the years, and that's definitely up there.
It's there's a bit more, but you'll stand and pick up the sword. There's a bit more work to be done before before you get the second half of that one.
He kind of chuckles. He says, "Do you want to spar?" He says, "You want some pointers?"
Let's see where it goes. Just maybe don't slam me on my back again.
He says, "You prefer the face? It's fine. Everybody has their own preferences."
He'll just kind of chuckle
That
and
is
step
not
back
where
into
my
the ring.
brain went.
Yeah.
He'll
I
just,
think I was where you were, Bison.
he'll step back into the ring, kind of he'll chuckle and kind of tap his sword on the ground, like, okay, yeah, get over here.
Um,
Get over
yeah,
here.
he like he very much treats Hans as like a dangerous opponent. You know what I'm saying? He's never like condescending or anything like that. He like there's the experience to know that like anybody can surprise you if you give them the opportunity. Does that make sense? And he's probably got the scars to prove it. Um, that said, what's Hans's goal during this? Is it just to kind of like prove himself, is to get closer?
I kind of want to get if you'll allow it, is this some people might see this as a little bit of a strange pull, but I want to see if I can get enough experience with this fighting style to get an exploit weakness out of it, and
Okay.
maybe throw a couple teasing, little bit of playful banter back and forth, and kind of see how he reacts.
Yeah. It's definitely clear that like the limited advantage that you have as somebody with a broadsword is in reach. You know what I'm saying? And you also are using a school that is trains you to try to get close. But
Mm-hmm.
like luring is even better up close. So for once you have to like practice distance and making him earn every inch and everything like that. So
That's what he said.
Oh my god.
it was not how I meant it, but um
Not now,
um
but later, maybe.
but yeah, I will absolutely let you pick up an exploit weakness knack for luring
Nice.
after the end of this. Um, and he once again kind of like after it's over, sweat worked and everything like that. You can tell that he's still like the interest is still there, even with like what he's learned. Does that make sense? There's more to chew on for him, but there's also that like he's not quite comfortable making a move yet, nor having one like necessarily made on, not for lack of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just because he's got decades of keeping himself apart. You know what I'm saying? Decades
Yeah.
of keeping himself distant and, keeping a secret and living in a culture that is very like masculinely dominated and looks down on that despite, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Product of the times. That's fair.
yeah. And but he also is beginning to like, how much do you think Hans is going to make it clear that the interest is reciprocal? You know what I'm saying? Or let him wonder.
That's an interesting question.
So I think there's a way to be like respectful of like that he's not ready to go there yet, but
Yeah.
also like whether or not it's a mystery as to whether his interest is returned.
I think that he's if he kind of picks up that Kelby is still kind of like testing the waters for himself, he'll tone it down a bit and leave it as more like there's a thread to be investigated here if he wants. I won't necessarily try to push his boundaries too much because that's I mean, hey, he still is like he's like a commanding officer, and there's still a little bit of like respect of the station, just kind of ingrained as well.
Yeah. By the way, from a respect perspective, it's clear that because Hans effectively has his own command of an entire district, on that level, Kelby considers him an equal. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Okay.
Not like a subordinate. Does that make sense? Even though captain is like under a colonel,
Mm-hmm.
he's looking at it from like raw manpower responsibility,
Fair
and he
enough.
considers their responsibilities to be commensurate to each other.
Okay. Interesting detail.
And after, he kind of he pauses at the doorway. And he says, "This was a good workout. I'd like to do it again sometime."
Of course. I mean, do you know where to find me?
Um, he says, "If you need any help with the district, don't be afraid to ask."
So, will probably take you up on that. Can always use more. Always use more people.
Um, and he smiles. He says, "This was a nice day. Thank you."
Oh, you're very welcome.
and he kind of like he gestures over towards like the bar, and he says, "You should probably name her whiskey." And like as you look, like the puppy is like nose deep in one of the glasses.
Oh no!
And when you like finish rescuing the pup, like Laura is
Grabbers.
gone. All right, so that's where we'll close out. Um, with Hans alone with another day of responsibilities. So thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm, a 7th First Edition Let's Play set in the great lawless city of Freeburg. Our art is courtesy of Hero Forge, First Edition 7th, Unsplash, and Be Funky. Our producer is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa, and our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Syndra. Before we get started, I want to give a content warning. While the spirit of 7th is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. It may get dark sometimes, and there's no shame in bowing out if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves, starting with Hans.
Hello, I'm Rory. I'm playing our lovely former soldier boy, Hans Ulrich, tonight, playing this wonderful game with these wonderful people. I'm currently only here on Sunday nights, but aside from on the channel here, you can find some of my other hobbies, which is pretty much only music. On SoundCloud, you can find some stuff that's unreleased on other platforms and stuff that may have disappeared from other platforms because distributor stuff. And I'm hoping to get to streaming pretty soon, specifically a little DJ radio show, kind of slightly satirical project. There'll be probably more announcements coming next week, but keep an eye out. Should be interesting. That's it for me. Let's see what Len is up to.
Hi, folks. It's me, Bat Kyle, friendly neighborhood menace. You found me. You can find me here on Sundays right now is the only day playing Len. I hope this date actually works. I've put so much work into it. Oh God, Costin. And otherwise you can right now only find me on the Discord server, which is a lovely place full of wonderful people. And then there's me, where I'll be posting all sorts of unhinged food memes and pretty much anything else I can do to get somebody to just go, why is he like this? With that aside, let's go over to Ruth.
Fun fact, you have a wife for that. Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm here today as Runa. On Tuesdays, I'm here as Exit, and Thursdays as Nora. And that's about it. Sometimes I'm in the Discord. Otherwise, I'm kind of just chronically offline. So yeah, that's me. I'm going to pass it over to Gav.
That's me. Hi. I am Bison_Stonefist. I'm a regular contributor on this channel, which is a fancy way of saying I have no life. Tonight I am playing Gav the Grin, our big lovable dumbass, slash soon to be learning to read guy. On Tuesdays I run our Cyberpunk Red campaign, Carnage Heights. We are currently having adventures in drug retail therapy. And a kidnapping, which was totally on my bingo card. No, it wasn't. Thanks. That's entirely Kraken's
Leave
fault.
it to Kraken.
Leave it to Kraken, exactly. On Thursdays, I play Garrett Fox Sakes, our pretty depressed emo on Deviant Paradox. Hopefully he will stay alive because we're currently being haunted by things I'm not even allowed to talk about, or they'll come get me in my sleep. And on Saturdays, I play Calvin Scooter Hobbs, the totally legitimate space pilot in our Starforged game, Starsworn. That one's a lot of fun. We took a break this weekend because I don't know who you're pointing at. I'm going to say Sarah.
See, meat bro power.
Yeah.
Hey y'all. My name is Sarah. I also go by Sans on the Discord. I am here tonight as Rosa Nix. I have some knowledge of relationships, but I've never been on a date. You can find me on Tuesday as Magic Broken Heart of the Team Silverlock. That poor character. Poor character. She just wanted to help and got
Needs so
massively.
much help.
Yeah. I am also the DM for the City of Mist campaign, Deviant Paradox. I can't even say herding cats. They're all jaguars. Other than that, you can find me on over on my channel, Tango Productions, working on stuff and things that'll come out eventually. I'm working with the Scarred Adventurer on that one. And also, there are some times I'm in another show on another channel. Sometimes. Called Force Blade Punks. So, yeah. That is everything. Is that it? Am I giving it over to Storyteller?
Honoring.
Okay. Over to Gloriosa.
Hi, friends. I am Blaze of Gloriosa, also known as Glory. I'm only here, and it's only tonight, at least on camera. So I'll be playing your friendly neighborhood noblewoman who totally is just here for the ride, honestly, at this point, and being able to write the gossip back to her aunt. Now that, like, the pressure's off, she's, like, living her best director life, I guess. I don't know. She doesn't know what she's doing. There's supposed to be men, but she doesn't have time for that right now, I guess. Storyteller, what are you up to?
So on Friday nights, I play Anchors Away, the pirate automaton who is with our brave crew in the Up the Creek show, and I'm also the storyteller here. I'm, as others have said, sort of allergic to social media, so I'm not on any of the accounts. I get all my news from Discord. So let us get back into things. In the ancient days of Numa, the great storyteller and philosopher Ceres the Wiser once noted that an adventure can begin in only one of three ways: by death, by slur, or by letter. To begin without one of these incitements is folly, the tobacco best described as an indiscretion, a dalliance, an escapade. But fear not, we begin properly girded tonight with a letter, the most seductive of the three and the most powerful. The letter has been a natural interchange of them between Honorine and her aunt. And I imagine that sometime after Loring has emerged from the Draken's Tooth, Honorine has been waiting to pounce upon Hans, since, you know, there was an entire intent to, you know, grill for information for background for the new play. And we're going to come back to that scene because I want to see the pouncing, but we have a date that was put on hold from the last episode because we didn't have time for it. And I think everybody has been looking forward to it as much as, you know, the date participants
we want the tea in the letter first.
We can do the letter reading. You want to do the letter reading real quick? Is that a no from Glory?
I was just saying this is your fault. To Sarah. Let me find it. It's a long one though. It's pretty long.
We actually did put it up in the cast chat. So how about we are in the game chat. So if you want, I can just read the reply so that the audience can hear it. Jame's response to So if you haven't read the other letter, go read that first. If you're
Strongly
listening
suggest.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the Discord. Join the Discord.
Okay. So I'll just read the reply.
Okay. Okay.
So this
good.
letter is written in Thean, and the scholar writing it has a scholar knack of 5. She is using it as like basically a form of encoding, because Thean is one of the rarest languages for people to know that are not like scholarly background, including even nobles. So, it says, my dearest niece, I am grateful you have dispensed with some of the excess flattery of your previous letter. Your various deeds are worthy of celebration indeed, measured in glasses. Some of the scandals of which you've been accused of proximity would require bottles, and not for celebration, should some evidence come to light of their truth. I would like wholeheartedly to agree with you in regards to Therese, but she has held power for long enough that relegating her to the charnel pit of history would be a mistake. Do not doubt, my sweet niece, that those who have always had power fight more savagely than any other to retain it. Worse, in Therese's case, as she has never had to make the sacrifices personally to retain it. Has always been a child, a nephew, an uncle who has gained glory and prestige on the field of battle, or paid for the glory of Montaigne by being returned in a casket. Her cousins defend her honor with a blade, but she has never so much as held one. I have pride in the dirt under our fingernails. It was the effort of the entire family that had me named as a duchess, no matter the rumors it was my wit alone. My goodness, the tales of your Vadachi sister and her paramour. Was it the handsome man so quick with the spear and so delightful in his blush at my observation about his sculptor acquaintance? Please tell her I would offer a bounty for a complete description as the firmness of his buttocks, doubled if she were to offer it from her own lips and not by pen. If she requires any additional instruction or you are curious yourself, I have some texts in Crescent that are most intriguing. It's true, Eisen is noted for its academies, not its universities. I'm delighted you are continuing your education. If you need remuneration for tutoring, please let me know. As for Iron Prince Fischler, he has much in common with the Seiss family, only recently elevated to true nobility, and without yet a line of succession established. I understand he has some difficulties in matters of expected etiquette, and it's taken it to mean the nobles of Eisen found him rude or boorish, or both. Perhaps it's simply a bit of polish becoming an Iron Prince. A bit of polish in becoming an Iron Prince he requires. Rumor has it that you have some skills where polishing is concerned, my delightful niece. I am busy at work in the courts here, attempting to ameliorate the damage my outburst against the Duron family. It's quite clear that the captain of the Musketeers has been expressly forbidden from speaking to me, though I am uncertain if this is by Therese or his wife. Rumor has, of course, circulated that I have seduced and bedded a married man. The number of men who have been intrigued and interested in me on the grounds of said rumor have been objectively horrifying. I've attached a few books you might contribute to your scholarship, my dove. All the best. Duchess Gervais Genevieve Margot Size to Size.
I missed the polishing content on the first pass, and you're a jerk.
She was talking about her excellent fashion sense, I'm sure.
No,
Sure.
but you
Very good at polishing spears, I hear.
exactly which declension of polishing was it? Because that matters. Haha, Latin joke.
We're moving to Len and Rosa. So, Len, why don't you let us know where the date is picking up, and under what circumstance he's picking Rosa up?
Under the he's just walking up to the door. This isn't going to be like a a horse and carriage thing, but he's going to show up in a very nice tailored suit, a tailored shirt, and really nice vest, pants, looking like a bit of a combo between Eisen clothing and Usuran fashion, or at least what he remembers of it. And he's going to show up with a bundle of. Can they even get roses? Some kind of flower. It kind of depends on the. Yes. Okay. Well then. Oh.
Some kind of flower. I'll give you a specific. In just a second.
Would he have talked to Honorine to find out if maybe like she knew?
Oh, there are
roses.
roses.
No, he's gonna guess.
Okay.
Roses are available in the climate.
Okay, then yeah, he'll show up with the full dozen roses, and because you do that on dates. Just a little knock and everything.
Yeah, she's obviously been waiting like very anxiously by the door, opens it. Yeah. uh uh yeah, yeah, she's awkward enough, so she at first she doesn't say anything. Then, hi.
Hello, you look very beautiful.
uh Grazie. And she actually has a more uh Eisen style dress,
Hmm.
so she's hiding less. So now her, I don't want to call them tattoos because they're not tattoos.
Marks.
Her marks are now very obvious all the way across her body.
Okay, so you like the glove tattoos? They go all the way up and across now, or
They, from my understanding, they went up her hands and all the way like across her chest, right?
So in my initial description of it had been that they had gone up to like elbow height. Does that make sense? And that
Okay.
was where they had stopped. You changed the model, and so I'm fine with it, like it having like started to like she's noticed at the same time that like webs have started to like blossom out from her heart.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. Which, yeah, that makes sense. I thought they were all over, like they'd gone all the way through.
No, I just intended it that they were upper
Okay.
hands. So
Yep. Almost like opera gloves, but tattoos. Yep. Um, good. I'm ready to go if you are. Did you?
See.
Yeah. Then he'll offer her an arm, and they like, oh, you don't have to carry the flowers if you don't want to. If you want to leave them here, if you want to carry them, I'm
Oh,
not opposed. I just
see, and she'll go back in, put them in, and then run back out.
okay. And he'll offer her an arm and start
Yeah.
strolling. And where they're going to is the the poetry area. The what did you call it?
so it's actually up at the dragon's nest. The like the round market that's there. Um, on this overhead map, it's marked as 3. Um,
Okay.
that is an open air like performing arts area, where people are doing performances of all kinds of like bits of poetry or memorized monologues or small scenes with 2 people, that kind of thing.
Okay. Perfect. Yep. And they're going there to listen to what he knows is going to be a translated telling of some Asuran fairy tales, effectively. Just yeah, but also not just translated, but performed and kind of a little pantomime with it all, and he'll murmur explanations for things that might still not be clear, just to share a little bit of his culture with her.
Mhm.
So we're just kind of like macro perspective, the folklore of Usura is much like the folklore of Russia. It's extremely fatalistic, and most of the characters are fairly dark. Does that make sense? Like death is a persistent character that's usually manifested by Koschei. um Grandmother Winter is kind of presented as both like the benefactor and protector and also the curse of Lucera in some ways. Does that make sense? Like they can never escape the winter. But uh and like they are her children by virtue of being citizens of Lucera, but like that they don't get to negotiate that. So
Yeah.
um a lot of the fairy tales that we have about like Baba Yaga will are corollaries for like what you would find about Grandmother Winter. Does that make sense for those who are kind of familiar with those?
Yep.
Okay.
Is is not the most flowery and romantic of stories, I know, but these are the stories I grew up with.
Is this anything like Vodachi stories or no?
So by comparison, Vidachi fairy tales tend towards like romance. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And there's sometimes like, there's definitely morals in Vidachi fairy tales. They tend towards don't cross the fate witch or something similar. But like for fate witches, like those stories are often like don't fall in love. You know what I'm saying? Because like it will be painful for you. because the magic takes whatever is yours and corrupts it so that you can offer it as a sacrifice to others. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Mhm.
So, but from the perspective of like not specifically Strega stuff, most people find like the Vodacce fairy tales to be extremely romantic and very passionate, and people doing things because of the intensity of their passions that they maybe shouldn't. But like there's a respect and an honor for like following your passions regardless of like whether you know it's gonna like in the same way it's like we might be doomed, but like, hey, I'm in love, so it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
There's no choice anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she kind of explains that to him, like how it's different.
Maybe we will have to listen to some Vodacce stories then, or you can tell me.
I was so young when I left, I don't know many anymore.
Well then, we will definitely have to find a telling of those as well. I think
See,
that would be fascinating. And then after the oh, sorry, did you have something, Seth?
no.
Oh, and then after the reading, he would take her to a little house by the river that he rented specifically, that has a very nice kitchen. He's gonna take her in and settle her at the little table overlooking the river, just kind of on a little balcony. And the house smells very good. Like something's definitely cooking. Like there's really no way to escape that when you don't have central air and you know really ceiling doors and everything. But after he has her sit, um, a chef comes upstairs. Like you can tell is a professional chef, which is kind of a rare and spendy thing in these days. But he's carrying platters and has some little wait staff, a pretty much sous chef to help him out. They set out a bunch of food, and it's a lot of traditional Vodacce dishes.
Hmm.
Um, just stuff that she may or may not remember, depending on things, but you know,
Hmm.
regarded as Vodacce delicacies and such to try a little of her culture too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's things like gnocchi and cacciatore and the uh some risotto, like kind of like balancing everything else out. The chef speaks in like fluent Vodacce and nothing else. Like so he's clearly like here traveling with somebody else, but he does advise to like make sure to leave room for dessert.
Yep.
Yeah, and Rosa will try and like give as many stories as she can. At the same time, like she doesn't want to overshare because she knows with the chefs and such around, it's kind of dangerous for her.
You'll get that, and it's the first date. You know, we have time to learn more about each other. We have
Uh,
time to breathe now.
Agreed.
Right? And then, through the meal, he'll just tell some stories from his youth, some of the lighter hearted stories from his youth. We've had enough darkness with the fairy tales there. And then once dessert has come, which I tiramisu.
Or
Yeah, the dessert is a tiramisu.
That's what somebody being funny without me. Okay.
chat.
Right, and then after that, they've had some dessert and such. He's gonna offer his arm again, get her up out of the chair and take her for a stroll around the new garden in the city that they kind of helped make.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be beautiful and overgrown in a way, and just gonna stroll and just kind of chatter about stuff that's not, you know, doomy bug people or giant murder snakes or people who give birth to said giant murder snakes or any of that.
And any of the insanity that they've gone through.
Yep.
So the garden area is right by where Rosa lives, actually. It's like,
Yeah.
so she's kind of familiar with the businesses that are there, the meatpacking plant and the ceramics factory. Um, the there's two things about like the garden itself that in kind of actually walking through it, like you're both noticing for the first time, is that there seems to be a lot of people who are bringing Wasson here. The orphans, the catatonic ones, they just seem to like it's whether it's like comfortable for them or uh there's some hopes like Hans has had to run people out here a few times for like claiming that the fruit of the tree would cure Wasson. It's not true.
It just
But
tastes really
it
good.
doesn't stop people from trying to sell it. Um, and but the other thing, I want like a wits and keen senses from um, Rosa and Len both as they're moving through here.
Okay.
Does criminal or performer help? I don't have keen senses.
That's fine.
Or
Just wits in.
naturalist. Okay.
No, not in this case.
Okay. So
And Honorine asked if it was anywhere close to leaky jokes, and yes, it is.
32.
Okay.
12.
Okay. Len was perhaps not paying as close to attention to Jamais Sice to Sice when she was in town before, as Rosa did. Rosa did have like the kind of extended makeup and everything with her. There are various kind of like emblems of like the Sice to Sice family and stuff like that, that are often like stitched into clothes and things like that. Like think like the way like a fleur-de-lis might be used or another like piece of heraldry and stuff like that. Moving through the gardens, walking away from it at the moment is a woman that has a number of those like sewn into her dress. Does that make sense? She's obviously a noble woman. Rosa has not met her before, but it's just something she notices in passing.
Yeah. I'll wait till I see Honorine to bring it up and try to describe her as best as I can when I see her.
Yeah, that's fine.
So when we are not saving the world, what is your dream? What is it that you've always really wanted to achieve?
Yeah, this is when she does it. She's actually going to drop the accent. To survive.
He's gonna do the same thing. Yeah, no, I understand that one pretty well. I think our lives have both been directed by other people in one way or another, or even when we're away from those people. I think all of us are haunted by people who are still alive.
And
And
run into Maya at a party.
your sister?
No,
Oh,
the Inquis the Inqu
oh,
Inquisition who, and she kind of just motions to her face.
yes. He's gonna reach out and kind of gently brush one of them if she allows.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh yes, yes, Cardinal Jerky, or High Confessor, whatever his name is. We still have to finish him one day, but uh, I mean, if it helps. My past is apparently running towards the city with an army either with her or behind her. Slipping back into that, and that's a whole thing.
It could be worse, honestly.
It could be, and I don't know if it needs to be said, but I will just say it. Whatever there was between Katharina and I, whatever she thinks there could still be, if anything, that that is a past that I've let go of. This, the two of us, and our friends. both those friends with us and those friends who are hidden from us. Uh, just that's the future. This is the future I want to protect.
As do I.
Well, seems we're in accord then.
And she says this a little quieter. I actually want you to know my name, the one I'm not allowed to use.
I would be honored to know it.
My actual name is Angelina Lucani.
Angelina Lucani. It's a pretty name, but I think Rosa fits you better anyway.
My family called me Lena.
Lena. Well, I'll make sure not to call you that outside until you say that it's okay. Although I feel like at this point, I don't think the Inquisition's really welcome in this city anymore.
No, but we've also seen what they're willing to pull.
Yes, we have. And if they try and pull something again, he's gonna take one of her hands in his two big, meaty hunter hands, just be like, please, please do not offer yourself up again.
I only wanted to protect you.
I know, and I want to protect you. I mean, obviously there can't be a second date if I don't. But in the end, it would not have saved anyone. And I would much rather, if it comes to it, I would much rather go down fighting together with you than to know that I got to live because you gave yourself over to those monsters.
She'll
Let me break in for just a moment.
Mhm.
Because with the discussion of what Len was talking about, Rosa hears a voice in her mind for a moment. She hears her Marietta say, "We do not surrender." It's just like a whisper, a reminder. But like Len also feels cold and like frost cover his hand for a moment as he's holding hers.
Ah,
That's it. I'm out.
it's just like home.
Yeah, she does not mean for it to happen. As it does, she just immediately, I'm so sorry. I didn't.
No, it's fine. Look, I'm used to the cold. He's gonna hold up his hand, flex it. He's like, didn't do any damage. Um, we we all are, I feel like, carrying something a little eldritch these days. So oddities I mean, he's gonna look around, make sure nobody's really in hearing distance. He's like, I turned into a fucking bear. I've had 3 different demigods or actual gods tell me doom shit in my dreams. Um, a little frost across the hand is nothing.
Uh, yeah, at that she does kiss him on the cheek.
And he's like, unless you want like late night coffee, this was pretty much my plan. I didn't know what you would like. She's definitely looking for all that, he could sit behind a flimsy table that took like 40 crossbow bolts and come out fine. Right now, he's definitely looking maybe not quite doomsnake nervous at this point, but pretty nervous for a big man of violence.
Yeah, Rose is not sure what to do either, honestly, because she's like, she doesn't want to end. Like, she still wants to spend time with Len, but she doesn't know, like, where to go next.
Sixpence None the Richer starts playing in the background. We don't even know how they got in here. Kiss me.
Yeah,
Or
well,
Paula
everybody
Cole.
else.
A Jamaican crab.
I was just gonna say that goddamn crab and the seagull showed up again. he's just like, I'm good to keep walking for a while, or like I said, maybe get a coffee or a drink or something. I,
I'm turning up. I had to turn off cast chat because y'all are friggin' evil today.
Happy 420, y'all.
Yeah, she'll
Yeah.
I would like to keep walking.
Okay, wonderful. And so they'll just kind of keep walking then, I suppose, meandering around kind of aimlessly. Both of them streetwise enough to, not end up going down some sort of dark alley that we're going to end up having to get into an adventure because of. I'm on to you, Ciosa.
All of the dark alleys in this particular part of town are part of the local brothels, and you have to pay for the hour by them.
Oh, no, that's fine.
For the hour, they're like overestimating there, don't you think?
They charge by the
Well,
hour. That doesn't mean that they aren't.
Yeah, nobody's going to admit to only needing 5 minutes, or whatever. So yeah, no, I need the hour. Can I pay for 2 just in case?
They
It's going to be
prorate for regulars.
yeah, it's going to be two, and then he cries, and that's it. But back to the lovely date. They're going to, I suppose, wander around until either one of them is just super tired or something. Because I don't think either of them, it feels almost like a game of you say it's time to end this first chicken.
Yeah.
You hang up. No, you hang up.
Yeah. It's being played by 2 kind of nervous and awkward people.
Yeah. I think it would probably end whenever Len brought her back to her house.
Well, then eventually, probably closer to midnight than not, depending on how the walking and talking is going, because they seem like they could just walk and chatter about nothing for hours.
Yeah.
He'd get her back to her place and just be like, well, here we are.
I can't even look around. Rosa is very obviously fumbling with her keys. Like, she is so anxious.
And he'll kind of help steady the keys, and then he's gonna go in for the kiss. He's gonna go in for the kiss, but he's also not gonna aggressively go in for the kiss. He is not doing the honks. That's at least second date material, and she gets to grab his ass first, because this is Usura's ass. But yeah, no, he's gonna go in for the kiss, and
minute he does, she does too. And when it ends, she has the key in her hand, and she is like, good night.
Good night. And he'll wait till she's in and then lock the door before he'll head on back, whistling happily. Things seem to have gone well, There were no portents of doom. They weren't attacked by anything.
And now you've jinxed it.
Was there getting ready before the date with Honorine, or is Rosa going back to her own house and not involving Honorine?
Oh no, she would have involved Honorine.
Honorine is sitting by the door right there with a glass of, like, I don't know, mulled wine or whatever in her hand, like whatever a cup of coffee would be, like, but for nighttime. And she's just like, or like a tea, and she's just like, so... And Runa is 100% invited if, like, Rosa would have been okay with that.
Oh, 100%.
If Runa's invited, she's there.
Uh-huh.
If she's invited, she's there. It doesn't matter like for what. You need a +1 to something, I'm there.
I feel like they were, like, playing a game or whatever, like while they were, or like, I don't know, sitting and working on like set piece stuff or whatever, and being like,
It's like we're either talking about set or Rune is teaching you like a Vestin card game or something.
Amazing. Yes.
Probably
Dice.
a bit of both. Because
Dice.
Like
I think they
yeah.
throw
poker or
runes.
something.
I think they throw runes like bones.
Oh,
So like it's like a dice game.
nice.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So, but like they both probably heard the jingle of the keys and were immediately like, and
Did you
so
kiss?
So then you
Rosa
saw the
just
kiss.
comes in. Oh.
Because in my head, the windows, there's a window there.
Honorine and Runa are both. Like Runa's eyes are peeking just above Honorine's head. Or like her head's resting on top of Honorine's.
Honorine's like 100% like doing this slap the table, like then grab like Runa's hand, like look. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Like 100%.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. I'm right here. I'm right beside you.
Well, I mean, she's not saying it out loud, but she's doing like the hand
Yeah.
grabby thing. Yeah.
And then both
That
of the
totally
back
would've
of the
given
table,
us-
the moment the door starts to open, like we were
Yeah.
there.
As soon
Under the
as
window.
the keys are in the door, we're like, how'd it go?
So was it fun?
Let's see, it was. As she actually has difficulty getting back into her accent.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you gonna tell us more?
Where'd you go? What did you do? Where did he take
Did you
you?
kiss?
The
Is he circumcised? We gotta know. Come on.
Whoa.
That was a jump.
that would have been a jump. See, we kissed. We went to the garden that the snake made.
Runa's just so excited the entire time.
And she's
like
does
so excited to
give,
be hearing the
what
story.
happened during the date.
Honorine's totally like matching the energy. Like she's on board with the excitement. She's like, amazing. This is wonderful. I'm so glad you had a good time. Tell me everything.
Yeah, she'll
Tell us
totally tell
everything.
them everything about the date. And she'll also say, I really hope that he asks for a second one.
You squealing you can hear from the other side of the friggin' city.
So should we cut forward to like the next day with Honorine carrying the same energy into interrogating Hans?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Still rocking the tea buzz.
Yeah. Hang on, I gotta shift gears.
Honorine just pulled an all-nighter at this point.
She's just buzzing on it. She goes to see Hans. Like she, in theory, knew about him getting given the key, right, and all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, she was there for that.
Yeah. I'm just making sure. There's a lot that happens, and I haven't made
There
notes
is.
on that episode yet. So.
That's very fair. There's so many things.
There's so much. Okay, so she goes to bring Hans some coffee or breakfast bagels or something. Like she's bringing a little care package to Hans's like new bar hangout fight club / whatever he's got going on. And she like
All of
pops
the
in
above.
the door and she's like, housewarming. Congratulations on the new digs. Only she doesn't say digs because it's not Montaigne. Congratulations on your new headquarters.
Oh, guten Morgen, Honorine. It is good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
What brings you by? Just wanted to congratulate me on the new place.
Yes, and also I believe housewarming things are a tradition here as well, right? It's not just Montaigne.
Of
I
course,
mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you're actually living here, but I bring baked goods.
Cool. Well,
Soldiers
thank
like
you.
baked goods.
I mean, I think anyone does.
Mhm.
It's very thoughtful of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ah,
How are
oh,
you?
would you like a tour of the place?
Yes, I would.
Oh, yeah, show her
Please.
around the bar, and yeah, the Roddy Puppy whiskey is just like sitting on the bar now. Has been a tiny bit trained to not go
Oh,
immediately go after people's drinks.
she's so precious.
To be fair, Whiskey just wants to sniff all of the drinks.
That's fair.
She's learned to not actually lick them, but she does want to stick her nose in everything. So
And then the fight arena, there's probably like a little bit of like decorative weaponry up around the whole place, and then he's got like a pretty small impromptu office.
And
Could have
she's.
moved all his paperwork over.
Does he still look like he hasn't slept in about a year and a half?
Oh yeah,
Like
that's just how he always looks.
he's got like the sunken eye look or whatever.
He's probably. I mean, it depends on how much you were like properly tuned into the details, but since the big fight, which was like a decent bit of time ago, he's since paler from then than he was before even, and yeah, very like he's got like pretty hardcore like raccoon eyes going on, and they sunk in a little bit, not quite corpse level, but he looks extremely tired, but he's much more upbeat than usual.
Tired but thriving. Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe right now.
So yeah, she's gonna kind of try to turn the conversation to like, I'm so curious about the Wakunda and their leader. Like, tell me what you've learned about them. What's it like working with them?
Oh, yes, of course. They're a fascinating bunch.
Are they?
Oh, to be sure, there's so many of them, veterans of the various conflicts. They have so many crazy war stories. Yeah, some of them come by and visit here to chat and relive the glory days a little bit. It points at a couple like slightly fresher blood stains in the in the fighting pit.
None of
I
that's
don't-
yours, right?
I don't think so.
You
That
don't
one over
think
there.
so?
Probably not. I would give you that. It's hard to tell. Give me a break.
You seem like you're doing better than you were. You seem less about to unravel at the seams.
I mean, I've been able to sleep a decent bit better than previous. It is a welcome change. I mean, don't have the threat of immediate death hanging over our heads at the moment. So that's a plus as well.
At least you don't.
Uh,
And she's
fair
giving
enough.
like that awkward sort of laugh, like, I'm actually not sure if I have the threat of death hanging over me right now or not. We don't know. Who knows?
I mean, at least.
She's got
But
the
yeah,
very like sort of Damocles laugh, like, haha, yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Fair enough.
And nobody else is like around, right? Like, so she can.
no, it's an empty place at the moment. There's
Yeah.
just Whiskey.
Yeah,
She's
just the dog.
definitely gonna go up and give Whiskey's ears like a little rubby. Like she's definitely got like the manicured nails and stuff, so she's like giving the really good scritchies.
Yeah, Whiskey has ears that anybody who's like knows dogs knows that it's going to be a huge dog.
But right
You
now
can
it's
tell by the
all
claws.
ear.
But
The
right
ones
now,
that
like
are
the
like
only things that
too
are
big for
helpful-
her head.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, yay!
She'll grow into those ears.
Like that she occasionally blinds herself and spooks herself because they cover her eyes. So
That's so precious. So she's gonna like so casually like kind of scritch the dog and be like, so I think you were gonna tell me how you know him.
Oh yes, that's right. Sorry, got got a bit distracted.
No, totally. It's completely fine.
Yeah,
And she's just sort of like staring at him.
I'll spill the details of his like war story that I heard from the couple other members who came to drink and stuff. Give her the kind of details of his life that the other Wakund members have told me, and like occasionally be like, "You have to don't tell anyone I told you this story. I don't know how much he wants to like keep this all pretty secret. A lot of the military men are."
And it takes her a second, like, of him starting to talk to realize that he's still talking about Loring. And she's just like, she's listening politely. She's got her court face on, which Hans probably wouldn't recognize, but she's definitely got her polite listening court face on. It's interesting, and she's like listening, but it's not what she asked. So
he like goes on and then kind of trails off the end of the story and is like, I'm sorry.
Honoring's just gonna reach out and kind of pat his arm and be like, you did say you've had a bit of sleep trouble.
I think I'm not used to being this alert anymore. But
so you told me a little bit about you. I have been friends with him. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to invoke his power here, but we've been friends since I was very, very small.
Oh.
Yes.
How did you come to meet him?
He sang to me. Have you ever heard him sing?
I mean, I've heard the stories. I don't think I have myself.
You'll know what I mean if you hear it one day. It's some of the most beautiful sound I've ever heard in my life. I've gotten to attend exquisite orchestra performances and listened to some of the best musicians in the world, and none of it holds even the softest candle to how he sounds when he sings.
It is truly high praise, but it does not necessarily come as a shock. But
no, I think he has a bit of an experience advantage, would be my suspicion. I think he's very old.
Oh, he must be. There's no other explanation.
He gave you a sword, didn't he?
Yeah. Among other things, yes. I mean, I've told you about like he quickly reaches into his pouch and kind of puts on the gauntlet again, and the full arm kind of spirals out and emanates from it.
I don't know if I've seen that. Has Honorine seen this before?
I don't know if she had. She might have seen it during the fighting, but there might have been enough happening that she didn't catch it. So,
yeah,
she
like
certainly
potentially
hasn't,
in passing.
Yeah, she certainly hasn't, I think, seen it in its full Transformer glory.
The Panzerhand and the Pauldron both have like the leafless like black trees on them.
Mm-hmm. The Panzerhand was his first gift, so to speak. Many years ago, I'll kind of give like a briefer version of his story. Some years ago, I was a soldier, met a very formidable opponent on the battlefield, and was removed from the mortal this mortal coil for quite however many years, and passage of time and memories from there are unreliable, but awoke in a cart being, I assume, looted by some enterprising scavengers, and he came to my rescue in a sense. Got rid of those guys and offered me a deal to walk and be once more in return for gathering an army for the incoming chaos and destruction. Not fully understanding how deep I would get myself, I accepted, of course. I mean, and he gave me. I don't know. Have you seen pure Draconison before? Just like it is bright, it's nearly white. This
I don't think
extremely durable material. It's the specialty of this land. It is given to nobles and many people of high station, and his is like blackened, and there's a couple spots that are like faintly reddish, rusty-ish. Like it looks both like very battle worn and is now like almost light absorbingly black.
May I
Kind
touch
of course, reach a hand out.
So yeah, she's gonna put her hand on it, and I assume it's cold for her like everybody else.
It's very cold. I believe, at least, right? She also like the material itself is.
It's more his skin. The material itself is
right.
Is neither. Does that make sense? So,
right.
And she's just going to sort of like kind of draw her hand back, and then she's going to kind of turn her hand over and, you know, have a little flame like pop up in it, and I think her eyes do like a little like smoke ring or something.
Pause for just a second. So as the flame appears in her hand, one, you're taking a dramatic wound, or not a dramatic wound, just a flesh wound. You don't have to roll, but because you're maintaining the gauntlet that he is wearing with the fire in proximity, there's parts of it that seem to like smolder slightly in response.
She's gonna yank the flame away.
Hans, it doesn't feel like it gets like hotter to you. It's just, and like there's a moment where you can like see the scoring from like the proximity to flame, and then it like shadow kind of flows across it like water, and settles slowly back into place until it looks as it did before.
I've certainly never seen that before.
Which is curious.
Does it do that often?
I have never seen that either. Perhaps it has happened in combat before, but I've never actually seen that.
It isn't wood, right?
Up close. No, it is still knocks it against the table. It is still Draconison at its core, just different. I don't know. Corrupted seems like a very alignment heavy word, but it's been changed. To what degree, I don't know.
She kind of glances toward the door a little bit, because she hadn't intended to keep the flame going this long. She just sort of meant to like just foosh and then close her hand again. But she's sort of keeping an eye toward the door, and then she like moves her hand closer to the like. Is it may I?
Go ahead.
And she moves her hand kind of just underneath the hand, the arm. Assuming he doesn't yank his hand away in pain.
So the presence of the flame seems to part the metal Does that make sense? Um, it like literally opens around it. Does that make sense? And it doesn't like it doesn't become hot. It doesn't, but it for all other purposes, it looks like it's melting. Does that make sense? The metal seems to become like liquid shadow. And then when like the source of flame is removed, it begins to heal back into place.
Well, yeah, I'm stealing from chat. That's mildly terrifying. I hope it's not all flame. That's a weakness, and she's gonna snuff out her flame.
There's
But
candles and whatnot around the place. I mean, the Wachtturm is lit. There's no electricity, so there's fire.
Right, that's a good point.
I
I'm gonna test that theory quickly. Just go and pick a candle and see if it does the same thing.
she's gonna
Does
go back to
nothing.
scritching.
It does slowly start to heat up the hand and becomes uncomfortable after a while because
Huh.
heating metal, but
Yeah.
but it doesn't appear to like change it. It doesn't appear to.
Well, that's the gift that he gave to me.
It is interesting coming from a creature of the forest.
Well, while I'm here, I actually wanted to ask you a favor, if you don't mind, because if the Inquisition comes through again and somehow finds themselves some power, and she's gonna draw out the little figurine that she had been keeping in the playhouse, and she's going to say, if I'm caught with this, if they find it, they already almost took it once, and I would like you to keep it safe for me, if you feel you can.
Of course. It does not put much more hazard on me.
It's I don't know if you can get any of the, I mean, this is from the Black Forest.
From his home.
Pardon?
From his home. Wow. So you must be very good friends with him.
I didn't even know it was remarkable when he let me take it. But I've had it with me and I've worked on it, and originally it was just a piece of wood from the forest, and then I worked on it, and as I learned more about shaping the wood, and as she holds it out, like it's been worked on for, like, you've seen it before, obviously. I don't remember if I fully described it to you, but she has spent most of her life perfecting this thing. It, you know, and it looks like it doesn't just have the, you know, the scary outer, like she's carved from memory, you know, this person that she was friends with. So it's been very lovingly, very carefully made. It's precious. It's priceless. But yeah, she's like, well, again, if I'm caught with it, I don't know what will happen. So until Rosencruz is found,
Better to not give them any more reasons, right?
they don't need more reasons, in all honesty, but I'm worried it will get destroyed if they try to destroy me. And I don't want that to happen.
I understand. I will safeguard this.
Thank you.
Of course. If you'd like to, you know, share stories of him at all in the future, I'd be more than happy to tell you more that I know.
I would like that. I don't feel I've gotten to know you very well. I've gotten to know several of the others very well, and I don't feel I've gotten to know you as well. So I would like that very much.
Yeah. Well, it's you're now one of the few people that knows I was dead for a time, so that's
You
well, that's a start.
You look remarkably good for a corpse.
Well, thank you. I do try a little bit every now and then when I'm able to sleep, at least.
Good. And thank you for the luring. We've been working on a show, and we're gonna try to do him some justice, some honor. So it won't be like the last one. The last one was completely different.
I think he would appreciate that. Sounds
Either that, or it'll embarrass the heck out of him. So.
I mean, even if he's embarrassed, he'd probably still appreciate it. I mean, who doesn't like a story being written about them, right?
Powerful men can use some embarrassment sometimes. It's good for them.
Fair enough.
Okay.
What a line.
Well,
All right.
thank you for.
So I'm gonna move on from
Yeah.
here.
You can have it.
So we're going to check in on Gab, who's probably had like the quietest few days, weeks, however, in a very long time. There's, it's actually like at the Hall of Records, where a bit of a crossroads between like the two sides of his life has come to be, which is that the gang, at least those that Felix has kind of decided it'd be a good idea, have started to join like the reading lessons that are happening in for Gav. Like Felix and like a dozen other kids, Hannelore is giving like the public library style, like, and here's how we read, here's the book we read from. Felix is acting as sort of like, the drill sergeant of like, hey, pay attention. Don't mess with each other. This is important. And the sort of like the edge of like this is important is something that Gav has noticed sort of after everything with the crosses. Does that make sense? He can tell that like it's affected Felix, but it's hard to tell. Felix is a little street soldier. You know what I'm saying? Like he's always been aware that things were going to be hard. He's known kids who've died. Like he may not have gone through everything that Gav has, but he has seen enough already that it's going to be part of him for the rest of his life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's a difference between hurting someone and inflicting pain. And Gav was definitely doing that to make sure that these two idiots learned that if they mess around in his city again, he's going to take his time.
And one of those idiots has been hung and the other has disappeared from public view. What Carmela is up to is kind of anybody's guess. Certainly none of the kids have seen her, although they're not exactly getting as much information out of the Philosopher's Stone as they might other areas. Does that make sense? Urchins are not exactly as tolerated there. And after the experience of a few after Felix's experience, a lot of the others have just decided it's not a safe place for them.
Yeah. And I mean, also, Carmela also has that lovely tattoo that Felix made for her.
Yes. But you haven't heard anything about her since she was released. The splitting the difference of one of them sort of taking responsibility and being hung and the other one being released seems to have done as much as is possible to like sort of relieve the tension on both sides, as far as Gav can tell. Someone faced justice. So
yeah.
Someone was also released. There are people on both sides who aren't happy with that, but the sign of compromise is a good compromise is that nobody leaves happy.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Felix has been like there seems to be, if Gav could describe it, it's that for those who are part of the gang that Felix doesn't think should be in the gang, maybe because they have other potentials or whatnot, like they're not street kids fully yet. Does that make sense? They maybe haven't endured the hardest thing, they haven't seen as much, etc. He seems to be working hard to sort of give them an out. Does that make sense? Maybe give them just enough education. Yeah, and the others you know, like those aren't the ones he's trying to get into a room learning to read.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
The kids who don't fit in on the street, the ones who would be much better served not, actually getting something out of it.
Yeah.
And I think, as much as Gav can, he's going to try and encourage it without really talking to Felix directly, because on some level Gav is aware that he crossed a line with Felix. He's not really sure what that line is, but he knows it's been crossed. So Gav's not so much keeping his distance as he is like trying not to get involved.
Um, and Gav has also noticed that like little replica models of the glove that Honorine had made for him have started to appear on a couple of the other members of the gang. Hands. It's become like a little symbol, their colors, so to speak, their mark of membership. And Hannelore is just sort of like innocently reading, to a gang of ruffians that would probably rob her blind on the street if, she wasn't known to be under Gav's protection. The and the evening is it's fairly late in the evening when like the reading lesson ends. Hannelore kind of, has everybody shuffled out. She started to like make sure that there's like a meal from the local restaurants. Steinholt it doesn't actually have restaurants so much as like many of the nobles who travel in with their own chefs. And so Len found that it was easy to find one who could, cook Vidachi fare. There are others that are willing to provide other foods as well. So yeah. And after Felix departs, he like the energy isn't anger from Felix. Does that make sense? It's more of like focus in what he's doing with the game.
He's turning into a little leader.
Uh, uh, and after they're gone, Hannelore kind of she says she says the one with the glove, like your hand. She says Felix, right?
Duh.
She says you were watching him very intensely all night.
The hanging that was done recently. Felix and I, we had business with them in a retaliatory way. And he says that like 3 times retaliatory. He tries to like it takes him a while. And things have changed. He is no longer following like puppy. It concerns me, but I don't know what to say.
She kind of she looks thoughtful and she says the way he looks up to you, it's like a son with a father.
And I scared him.
You take care of him, and he knows he can trust you.
I would do anything for him. He is a good kid. He does not deserve this life.
She nods. She says there are a lot like him.
Too many.
Your friend, the artist, he's the one who runs the orphanage or pays for it at least. He doesn't run it.
I have heard. He is also very good man, very kind.
She says, perhaps talk to him. If what you really want is for Felix and others like him to not be on the streets, you might at least have an idea what needs to happen to make that happen.
I Danke. I think I shall do this in the morning. In the morning, I would not wish to bother him now.
She kind of smiles and she says, good. She says, guys, I've gotten very used to my bed being warmer when you're here.
I'm sorry you had to get a larger bed.
Um, uh, she kind of smiles. She says, you can't apologize for things I'm not unhappy about. Um, and she kind of like she twists at her belt for a moment. She says, would you like children of your own someday?
Gav's face goes so red. And is not the kind of question men like Gav often ask of Gav. I'm not sure. Very, no, not sure.
She says, it's a thing you should think about soon. Because there are things I'd like to do with you that'll be relevant.
Yeah, Gav's Cernith hand is looking a little pale in comparison to his face right now. He's
I should be clear, she's blushing too. Like this isn't
Yeah,
easy for her to put into words.
Also, I upped his panache with some of the experience. So he's got panache 3, so his social cues are a little bit better. And I kind of attribute that to hanging out with people like Len and Honorine and those with, actual style. And so he's kind of catching her drift this time. I suppose you'll have to find some wine.
As well. I wasn't meaning tonight. She says, it's
Oh,
been
good.
on
Oh,
my
good.
mind. And she says, and seeing you, she says, with all of them makes me think that you would be a very good father.
I was kicked out of orphanage when I was very young. Too big.
Well, I don't really think that that's a problem when it comes to being a father.
I am worried I would do the wrong thing. When I get angry, I hurt people.
She says, I've never seen you hurt somebody that you care about, and I've never felt unsafe with you.
You have given me many things to think about. I mean, he says that with a smile.
And she smiles back and just kind of, she loops her fingers through his hand and she kind of draws him back towards the office. She's like, we can't do that tonight, but there are things.
Plenty of time before morning.
She kind of like gives a little shrug and like seems to, be waiting to see if it's a major concern to him or not.
He follows her into the back office.
Are you comfortable with us fading to black here?
Totally.
Okay. Um, the and I'm gonna kind of pick up where Runa is, on her way to like the theater in the morning.
She definitely has Red with her. Just to get him socialized,
He's
He's got to see people every day.
and Red is now like growing used to like, licking every single one of the people that are working over at like the boat, like the shipyard. They all have already started to prepare like little bits of salmon for Red. Like
Perfect.
if there was some sort of diet that like Red was supposed to be on, it's gonna be blown. There's gonna be plenty of exercise needed to
But
um
she's
You're
still
gonna keep
working
them
on
busy.
building up her muscle again. So through like all the set building and stuff like that, and getting exercise, just aside from that, Red's getting tons of exercise.
yeah, there's just a second, let me open something. I love the Vestal and Vidal people, but their names are always like, let me double check before I try to pronounce them.
I get it.
So and Jarrus has been happy to kind of like take a break from his own work, like walk with her to the shipyard. It's not patronizing. It's not, you need a big man to protect you. He enjoys taking the break. He usually makes the excuse to pick up some other supplies that he needs on the way back.
Of
that kind of
course.
thing. The outer construction of the warehouse is like finished. Like they're ready to within a week or so probably be like seeing people again. And it's been a whole trip of kind of like, hey, we can put in more seating, we can put in more places to like store props and all of that kind of stuff. There have been Wilhelm has been offering like lessons during the day for like different like music and stuff like that, for those who are interested. So that's kind of given them like a consistent income from and some of it is from people who once would have like turned up their noses at ever even coming into the warehouse. So, but Jarrus is so we're working on fixing up the boat that had the leaks.
Mm-hmm.
That was very professionally embarrassing for me.
Mistakes are made frequently.
I think I was distracted during some final processes.
Well, if you're blaming me, I'll apologize.
Um, it's not fair to blame you. It was my mind that was wandering.
Well, if it was
Um,
just me having to be there, it's kind of my fault.
You're there even when you're not there.
Mm. Good to know.
He rubs at the back of his neck and he says, I've mentioned you enough times that my sister is insisting that we're going to have to meet.
Okay.
Hey, she's protective.
All right. If you want me to, I'll meet her.
Um, he looks like surprised by that, but like very pleased. And kind of, pauses to get to the bear house and he says, be all right if I had you come by the shipyard tonight?
Sure. It's on my way.
And he just like he nods. There's again the kind of like the shyness that he only really like seems to have around Runa. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Of just like he doesn't quite know how to like banter with her yet. He doesn't know how to like flirt with her, or he's just a little too nervous too. Um, and the fully like when he turns around, like nearly runs somebody over. Just
With himself?
Yeah, just
He's
like
such a large man.
He's
such
huge
a large man.
and like kind of apologizes, steps out of the way, looks back over his shoulder one more time as and Louis Claude is just kind of like, well, that was delightful. Who's that?
I forgot how to pronounce his name.
Jarrus.
That's Jarrus. He owns a shipyard. As she says with like a grin.
And Louis Claude kind of like just one eyebrow goes up and he says, "Oh." He says, "Do I detect a fluttering of hearts?"
Perhaps.
Um, yeah, he gives like a little like clap of applause that.
I love this man and will 100% die for him, just FYI.
Yeah.
He says, "I wanted to make sure that tonight would be all right to use the Bearhausen to make a feast for everyone."
Absolutely.
He says, "Excellent. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to go open the bar." He is not the bartender for the place, but the bar does usually open when he shows up.
Yeah. And I know that whatever he takes from the bar gets paid for. So she's like, okay, you go do that.
Um, yeah, and there's like plenty of work that's going on. It's become like really like full-time employment and everything for Runa. And a leadership role that she has consistently always been like the youngest person on the ship as well as the captain's daughter. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? And so like that didn't usually lead to like a lot of like responsibilities, or if it was sort of like practice responsibilities, like everybody
Yeah.
do what Runa says now, you know.
Yeah. Or like tying ropes and stuff like that.
And the evening, like it's a little bit different because everything's sort of cleared off. The stage has moved away. Louis Claude sort of, gets a table and stuff like that. He is not cooking himself. He has gotten most of the food coming in from Perrois Mercantile, and like a few chefs along with it. Like there's no apology from him for that. He's just like, I'm not a chef, but I know good food when I've had it.
She would help him set up. And before I'm just saying this so that it's said, so I don't forget to say it. Like right before she goes, after whatever happens, she'll let him know that she'll be back for the feast. She just has something she has to do.
So is she stepping out to go meet with Jarrus and his sister and then coming back for the feast after, or is she doing something else?
She's going out to meet his sister. Big step. Whoa. And then going back to the feast. And then going to the feast.
All right. So Jera is his sister, Jarrus and Jera. Helene told me she has Honorine, you can share that picture. Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead. I was just uploading it as you were talking.
Yeah, the first one that you sent was like in the cast chat, but like the second one was just me, so I was just making sure.
Okay.
Introducing Meat Mountain.
Yeah.
They're twins. She can tell from like the first moment. Does that make sense? Now, Jera is not built like Jarrus is. She's still strong. She's a carpenter by trade, so she absolutely like, strong arms, hands, knows her business. And within like 10 seconds of Runa coming into their home, like they clearly like share everything, and like both of them cook, both of them do tasks, both of them clean, there's no sort of like masculine and feminine dynamic in it. Does that make sense? It's just like siblings that share everything. And her business produces a lot of the things that his requires, but she also serves other parts like the Draconest area and just providing like whatever people might require. Most of it is like fixing homes and stuff like that. She's kind of like the contractor that people call for like problems with their house or whatever, right? From the moment like Runa comes in, Jarrus kind of introduces, this is my sister Jera. Jera is like, it's not a vibe of that she's like sizing up Runa. Does Does that make sense? It's
Mhm.
that she's like immediately like, holy crap, I didn't realize that my brother had brought home somebody that beautiful.
She's not sizing
Oh,
her
it's
up.
the
She's
siblings!
sizing her up.
Like, yeah, the sister is just utterly like, whoa, whoa. Um, and the dynamic over dinner, she's a little bit more comfortable talking. She doesn't have the same sort of like tongue tied, and she
Right.
actually helps sort of lubricate the conversation as a whole, because she kind of knows some of the stuff that Jairus is like, that she can tease him about, of like, the time he capsized the ship because he was like reaching for something over the side or whatever. The little embarrassing stories that your siblings know. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? Um, and they're both kind of like trading them back and forth, and she's seeing Jairus just like talking and how he is with family and stuff like that, and whatnot, and not quite like the nervous courting side of him.
Right.
And at the same time, like Jera herself is uh unable to stop looking at her.
Oh dear God.
Um
See, here's the thing. Runa is like, okay, yeah. Ruth has choice paralysis.
um
Therefore, Runa does too.
um and the I don't know, did you share it so that everybody could see the image? Or just is it on the stream?
It's on the stream right now.
Okay.
I can't currently see the stream.
Do you?
All right. I'm just gonna drop it onto the main stream first.
Okay.
Of course, it's gonna be tiny.
Do you need to? I can help if you need me to do stuff.
There. I think everybody should be able to see that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has longer hair, but she braids it enough to keep it very tight and close. Um,
The classic working Veston woman hairstyle.
yeah, absolutely. And there is a piece of conversation between the two of them that Runa overhears. Where she
Like, where they're in like another room or something.
No. It's just kind of
Okay.
like a conversation between them, of like, or of Jairus is like, did you get anything more on that deal with the Gilder? And she just kind of like, she wrinkles her nose and she says, from what I understand, they're still coming out swinging. Uh, and she pauses and she says the merchants guilds have been in the the merchants quarter have started putting forward a resolution that they might only be taking Gilder. They're no longer taking marks from the island.
Hmm. Interesting.
She says, I've heard things like this before. She says it has something to do with trying to stop the Eisen from using their own currency so that they're forced to trade with the Bendel.
Hmm. It's a bit problematic.
She nods. She says, I don't understand all of it. She says it's something about the marks are no longer backed by an imperator.
Hmm.
Um, she says, for businesses like ours, which only take marks, we won't take Bendel Gilder. It might put us out.
Is there anything that can be done?
Someone could convince them it's a bad idea.
I think I know some people who might be able to do that. Or might have more leverage. I can talk to them and see if there's anything I can do to help.
It'd be appreciated. At least somebody coming to the table to talk to us.
Runa is, of course, referencing Wilma.
Yeah. The And the feast is kind of due to start at any moment. Everybody else, by the way, has gotten invitations to come and enjoy some Montaigne cuisine.
Gav would
Finally,
bring
a taste of
Hannelore.
home.
Gav would bring Hannelore.
Yeah, if anybody wants to bring a +1, they're welcome as well.
Can I bring a +2? Because I'm just about to leave this gathering, and it's like, hey, do you guys just
I would
wanna
also
come?
like to know if there's +2 allowed.
Can I bring them both?
Louis Claude is not the kind of man who would ever turn down somebody so daring as to want to bring a +2.
Okay.
If that's how you roll, he's absolutely willing to
Yeah.
have all of your guests.
Great.
This is the hedonist we're
so-
talking about.
She's gonna look at both of them and go, I'm due at a feast quite soon. Would both of you like to join me?
Jared kind of like, I don't think I have anything to wear for that.
Wear what's
It's a
comfortable.
burlesque place. It's okay. You don't need to.
Most people there wear very little, but
I forgot where you work. Oh my. She just kind of, she like
place that
grits her teeth a little bit. She's like, there's not going to be anybody performing while we eat, right?
there shouldn't be. The stage has moved.
Okay.
Yeah, I helped move that.
By the way, Runa is very clear that her nervousness has nothing to do with like prudishness on her part about she wouldn't be offended. She's more worried that she'd be very distracted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So by the time everybody gets there, there's like a very large like feast set up. There's going to be +2s. Louis Claude is gone, and like he's invited a lot of like the cast and stuff like that, so like they can eat as well. Wilma is invited, and has chosen to show up.
I'm gonna talk to her there. Just like bring her to the side and quickly talk to her about it. It doesn't have to be a scene that plays out.
No, actually, so she kind of are you just telling her the concern about like the transition to Marxians?
Yes.
She says that's something that we'll have to look into. The merchants' quarters only recently reopened after everything with Redmond. She says they've actually, from my understanding, many of the merchants there have actually resisted that transition for some time. The pressure comes from Kirk to do so. But there are merchants with a lot of loyalty to their guilds and others who are more loyal to Freeburg.
Right.
We might be able to set up a dialogue with them and encourage them to resist the change.
Anything we can do to help, that would be ideal. So yeah.
Do you know anybody inside of the merchants' quarter that would be willing to speak on behalf?
Because they work like around here. They would be included in.
Who are you referencing?
Jira and Jaros.
Jared and Jaros.
Yes.
Yeah, they both work around here in the Drakenest. The two people that she knows that are inside of the merchants' quarter is Mac, and Garrett Vick, the clockmaker.
Oh, she can talk to Garrett.
Okay.
Wait.
They also know Upman too, who lives and works over there. Although he's
he's always busy. I'm just wondering if Garrett would want to help, or if he's the one that has the opinion of, or does that not matter? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure
he might very well
out.
just have an opinion to share with her.
Hey DM, can we get the map of the merchants' quarter? Do we have it yet?
I don't have a map for the merchants' quarter prepared yet.
Can you move the picture so we can at least look at the merchants?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just in response, she's just gonna say I have a few leads.
Okay. Wilma, as like everything's getting started, she kind of gestures to Rosa. She says, do you have a moment?
See, I do.
And it's like, it's not a dark corner, like it's just like a little bit of privacy. There's only so much that can really be afforded here. Does that make sense? But she says, I was hoping to ask a favor of you.
See, what?
She says, I know you have been involved with the council for some time and that it takes up quite a bit of your time, and that you're also worried about establishing your new business. But I had an offer for you. I could use someone to sit in my place in the administrative hall from time to time, hearing business as others bring it forward. It's a position that requires temperance and patience and discretion. All qualities that I think you possess.
Thank you. Like she completely drops the act at that point.
She says, would you be willing to take that on?
Yes, I would.
That will allow me to deal with some of the other business that is in the city. She says, and I think that you would work well with Logan, especially after everything he's been through. We're trying to find a happy medium between whatever role he's in right now and how the city has operated for a long time.
Thank you for believing in me.
She says, with everything that has happened, you have never sought acclaim or recognition for everything that you've done. I know what you've done. A few others know everything that you've done. I imagine in time that will change. But it's your lack of need for it that I think means that you could fill my shoes well.
I will do my best. Your shoes are, I believe, as the Icens say, very large to fill.
She kind of smiles and she says, I hope only metaphorically.
Only metaphorically.
She gives Rosa an embrace. Her plus one is actually Logan, who's looking like more, I mean, Rosa has seen him literally bawling his eyes out, and I think a few other people have seen him when he was struggling to give like a public address over the funeral of his mentor. And after that, it was like post-torture. Like nobody's seen him actually sort of like put together and not like in an emotional crisis of one kind or another. So for many, it's like third impressions of the charm. He's very how do I put this? After everything he's been through, there's a little bit of like liberation from somebody you think has spent a lot of time being very tense and drawn into themselves. Does that make sense? He's starting to sort of break out of that. He doesn't look like he's on the cusp of a mental breakdown right now. It looks like he's actually sort of grappling with a lot of like the challenges and everything that are before him. But he's actually grappling with them as opposed to just sort of like hiding from them.
Mhm.
And he's educated. He's a little bit sort of prone to like an info dump on anything that he has some knowledge about.
He's autistic.
He's like me for real.
Like it's a hint of like I want to say it's kind of like a hint of that is somewhat tempered by the fact that he's been through a lot of training on proper etiquette and stuff like that, but it's still sort of like the most comfortable way for him to like make a connection with somebody is to just like, oh well, did you know that? And then a small history lesson, and then he goes back to whatever he was talking about. Honoring Falk is sitting next to you on the other side of like Ettore and Anjay. Or he's sitting like near you. Does that make sense?
Oh, so I've got a full plus 3 at this point, I guess.
Well, Falk has been invited on his own.
Oh, good.
Like Louis Claude was like, "Oh, you fought at the Bear House. You get an invitation." It's sort of like a post-battle victory feast, if nothing else.
Yeah, I would
Um,
hate for any rumors to get around about that.
Liar.
What?
you your aunt's estimation of him, like as the kind of like dinner starts to go on, like food is just sort of being brought out in the initial courses. There's no speech making or anything like that. It's just Louis Clon being a bon vivant. Like there's toasts being made, probably already too much wine being consumed and everything like that. But he's clearly enjoying himself, and trying to. He's like one of those party hosts who's definitely concerned about making sure that everybody else is enjoying themselves too. Um, your aunt's assessment, just based on reputation, is fairly dead on with Falk. He's very comfortable with the people that he reads as like peasants. Does that make sense? And like the people that are noble, he's trying to be proper, and it makes him a little bit uncomfortable. Like he's that person who's suddenly sort of like, which fork do I use? Which spoon do I use? The moment he's thinking about it, and the moment he's thinking about it, he's not doing great. Um,
And
But-
then he looks over at Runa, who's just using like the biggest spoon and the biggest fork.
And Honorine, I think, is going to, you like at the beginning, like if it seems like he's having trouble with etiquette or whatever, she's gonna be like, what's the title of an Iron Prince? Like what's his honorific or whatever?
Koenig. Koenig is the official title, and Königreich is the term for the lands that they're in charge of.
So she's going to be like, Königfischler, we're in a, oh, I'm spacing on the word. What's the word for the place we're in? It's not a brothel.
A playhouse?
Yeah, but we're in a burlesque. We're in a Königfischler. We are in a burlesque playhouse. It doesn't matter what silverware you use.
And he kind of like, but I'm very concerned about impressing them. Did you see how they fought?
And they saw how you fought.
You will recall I was on my back by the end of the battle.
So was I.
And he laughs at that. Louis Claude, just effortlessly like mounts the table as in getting up on it and standing atop it and like ringing on a glass.
I love this man.
I wanted to clarify that because I knew people the moment I used that word were going to go somewhere with it.
With
But
Louis Claude, no shit.
And he says, I wanted to say to everyone that I have had the most delightful time in Freybeck. And also, it appears that my responsibilities are calling me elsewhere soon.
No, that was Ruth.
I think there's a collective like, oh, in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. And he kind of like, you honor me.
My
he
favorite
says,
bartender.
He says, and it has been a delight to preside over the bar of the Bauhaus. And he says, I have greatly enjoyed my time here. He says, but the immediacy of my need to be here has passed. And other adventures are calling me to other lands.
That's so upsetting. Why would you take him from us?
He says, I'm happy to remain. He says, I will be here certainly for the rest of the evening and however long it takes to pack my effects. Which traditionally has been 2 or 3 days.
At least.
You've got a lot of wigs, man.
He says, but I have delighted in being here and delighted in making your acquaintance as well. And I hope to see you again in the future.
Are you going anywhere exciting?
He says, I'm being called to Castile, actually. And not in service to the Emperor. I do not serve the Emperor.
Interesting.
If you get the chance, you must send us a letter of your your exploits and adventures. Sure, I'll be
Oh,
most
please.
interested in what you get
He
up
kind
to.
of
Maybe we
laughs. He
will
says,
make play
"That
of-
does sound something akin to signing a confession."
Maybe we shall make play.
Very well.
He says, I may send some poems," he says, "that surely exaggerate my misdeeds. I mean my deeds." Um, and he steps off after that.
Oh no!
There's
Before he steps down, Honored's gonna raise her glass and be like, my brain is mush. To Louis
It's all
Claude.
soup in there.
No thoughts, only soup. To Monsieur Saint-Jean person. To Louis Claude.
and he takes the toast. And it's the drinking continues. He kind of like he moves everything into like full revel. Like he'd like everybody to be waking with a headache to remember him by.
Delightful.
And the there is a story that he tells late in the evening. After like everybody's drunk, kind of in the sense of like attributing it to a story he heard from someone. Of a young Montaigne man who embarked upon a life of adventure after he was after a strange encounter with a woman. And he spins the story with the kind of way that like most people will just kind of like come to realize he's talking about himself, but not quite actually admitting to it. Does that make sense? Runa asked me a question. If you want to invite Zora and Brady, then they're absolutely. We've moved past the +1, +2.
Yeah, she would have.
Once it was clear it was not
Just
a
like
banquet, it was a party. Like
Runa
Brady
won't
threw
be
himself
home
into it
for
fully.
dinner. This is just easy dinner plans. And she enjoys having her cousin around.
But he spins a tale of having when he was a young man, having met the most beautiful woman he'd ever met. A woman that was intoxicatingly beautiful that he's like, I was never certain if I was seducing her, she was seducing me. But going back into a hotel room with her, or not a hotel room, sorry, like a tavern room, and her offering him a drink from what she claimed was like the finest wine that he would ever taste. And he drank it. And she watched him and panicked when he simply rose to kiss her again. It was many years later that he discovered that what she had fed him had been an intent to poison him. It was intended to kill him, and that his survival bucked all odds. But that is not the strangest part, because he met that woman who had offered him that drink 400 years ago.
Huh? Sorry, didn't know we were still unmuted.
And Rosa kind of like as she's hearing the story and everything, like she can see his arcana like floating over him. Does that make sense? That strange framed portrait around him that locks his Empress card into place. He says, my travels take me from one city to the next in search of the same woman. Because I have run into her many times over the last few centuries. Never aging, never older. Always wearing a new face. He says, but I have word that she has traveled, and so I depart to Castile.
That is
Really wishing Arthur was here right now. That'd make this conversation really entertaining. Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV.
I'm sure we all wish you good fortune in your seemingly everlasting quest.
And safe travels, friend.
He says the embassy in Pei has a mailbox. He says if everyone needs to leave a letter for me. He says, and barring that, he says I do check in on poor Dietrich Proust from time to time. He's a bit over his head in being a master knight, and I help him out as I can. He says if you leave a message with him, I'm sure to get it in time.
So Honorine is a little past giggly. She's definitely the most relaxed that like any of her companions have seen her, and like the most into it. Like she has removed half of the stick from up her ass.
Just half.
So she's definitely like, oh my goodness, will you write back if we write you? I'm going to miss your stories. How dare you give us such amazing food and then go away?
He says it is the key to being well remembered is to feed them before you leave. He says if you write me, I will certainly write you back.
Good.
You better.
And he kind of like with that and he kind of staggers up onto the bar and like doffs his hat. And immediately kind of capitulates off the side and is snoring behind the bar.
Yeah.
And now I
Perfect.
bid you my adieu.
Yeah.
Thud.
Which is also where we're going to drop the curtain for the night.
Bruno's ready to sing sea shanties.
Well,
like
sorry.
she's feeling good.
We're almost ready to drop the curtain. The party breaks up. There's no spectacle, no flaming enemies that appear out of nowhere or anything like that. Everybody's kind of, headed back to their own homes. If anybody is, escorting Louis Claude somewhere, be prepared for an attempted seduction, whoever you are, on the way home.
Len is going to see Rose at home. He knows that look in Louis Claude's eyes. He's like, nope, not it.
Runa is probably gonna be walking with the twins, Sora and Brandy.
Yeah. Full house.
Gav is definitely walking Hannelore home.
Okay. Hans,
So no one
honoring-
wants to be seduced?
I was thinking that
Who do you think would be funnier?
You.
the both of you, actually, because he would
Oh, that would
he
be
would
perfect.
unabashedly flirt with the both of you.
Well, no, I was thinking that Honorine would be like, we should get him to like a bed to like some of like a couple of the other guests or some of the Playhouse people. Like we should at least get him to something soft.
Put him on the couch upstairs or something.
Hey, Gav,
oh,
before
yeah.
you leave, can you please put him on the couch upstairs? S'il vous
Not
plaît.
the problem. He is very small.
In all ways but one. And when like Gab puts him on there, he kind of like Gab's grabs his arm and he's like, you should stay and cuddle just a little. I'll be gentle.
There is not enough room on this couch, Herr St. John. I apologize.
I could just lay right on you. It would be fun.
That's adorable.
On their way, Runa's kind of like drunkenly singing like old Vestin songs that they used to sing on the ship.
Yeah, and there's they have like their own kind of like songs from times like building boats and stuff like that like a lot of the meters and stuff are the same, you know what I'm saying, the basic rhythm is the same. And however, what we're going to cut to is actually Len as he's coming back to his room. And there is an eagle on the table of Len's room. And it kind of like flutters its wings and regards Len. And then as Len is kind of like looking closer at it, it flaps like a little bit like startled, and for a moment the feathers seem to catch fire Does that make sense? And then they settle down. Len has seen this particular kind of transformation before. And normally it is considered unique to the Nias. Tamara was her name. She was the one who had the curse of truth.
Oh, yep. I
Does that make
remember.
sense?
Yeah.
It's just called the Firebird. And Katharina's voice comes from it and says, I don't know how to change back.
Time for lessons then.
Looks like you need more training. You ought to mute.
Please never mute.
Don't mute.
Ever.
So like
The
there's like the mewing of kittens around, and meanwhile it's like, I don't know how to change back.
Yep.
it's not terribly long and then Katharina, you haven't seen her in years. When she transforms back, it's with white hair and green eyes.
You were given the mother's blessing. Interesting.
She nods. She says, did my message from my brother get to you?
Somewhat, yes. He mentioned that you were on the way and an army was following you, but not necessarily whether it was following you in a good way or a bad way. Please let it be a good way.
She says, it helped Montague escape.
And so you have been branded a traitor by who took over? I know Ilya's dead. Good freaking riddance, but
Pronunciation real quick.
who now?
I'm grabbing the pronunciation real quick.
Oh, okay.
She says Alexei, who you knew as the son of like the more clever of the
Yeah,
two,
the son of the
right?
beast himself.
Alexei's father was the one that was known as the wolf. Markov was the one that was the bear.
Bear, yeah.
But Alexei's father was definitely the smarter by many degrees, but he was also the one that was fed to the dogs in front of Alexei.
Yep. That will leave a mark. I cannot say it was undeserved. We know what really happened there, but is he having you hunted as a means of consolidating his power, or just because you are a traitor?
Doesn't know that. And she points to the white hair.
Well,
doesn't know that Matushka made me the goddess.
That's going to be a long discussion then.
What I've heard, he dyed his hair and is claiming to be the Gaius.
Well, that will be mostly up to Matrushka then, will it not? If he loses the green eyes, that is hard, far harder to fake in the lack of shifting, unless we are supposed to figure this out ourselves.
I don't know. I know that I don't have. She says there are those I think that might support me. I know that there are those who are opposed to Alexei at any cost.
Yes, well, given who his father was and what happened, that is not terribly surprising. And given that I am been led to understand that you were something of the voice of moderation in the country, sparing
I-
people where you could influence that little shit to do so.
He told me. He told me on our wedding night what Matushka said to him. The only time that she talked to him was when he became the Gaius, when his hair turned white, when he was a boy, right before everything, before he was dragged off.
Yes.
So this sort of the thing Matushka told him before he was tortured for years was that he meant nothing to her.
Well, that sounds about right. I have no doubt she knew what he was going to be. And whether he was necessary for some plan of hers or not, that's. She may come and tell me.
Yeah, she just kind of like sinks with her like face into her hands.
And he's going to give her a careful, very chaste hug.
And she returns it. And she doesn't seem to like seek for more than that. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
She just and it like she's crying but not sobbing. Does that make sense? There's no like shake of her shoulders, but he can feel like where his shoulders getting wet from tears.
Yes, but she's always been good at controlling herself. In something, sometimes you cannot help but cry, but you can decide how you are going to cry. And so they'll just like, well, you will be as safe here as my friends and I can make you, and maybe your brother if he's still around. What happened to?
She says Falk is here.
Okay, so he is still here. And what about the person you freed?
Montague?
With you? Yeah.
She says no. He has the army to go to.
Oh, so he went back to the army. You fled here. The Asuran army is coming this way. These are
the Montaigne army is coming this way,
Oh.
and I suspect Alexi's army will be on their tail.
That's not even the most complicated part of this all, but we will discuss that later.
She says, I suspect we have a lot to talk about.
We do, but for now, you look worn out. I have a guest room.
I've been flying all night.
Yes. I'll put you up there with some food and bedding, and you may end up with kittens in the bed with you. This cannot be stopped. They are already beyond my power to control.
Just
No one is
like
safe from
she laughs and she cries a little bit at that, and she's like, "That sounds like heaven."
Yes, it kind of is. Come.
Nobody talks about how exhausting wings are.
You get used to it. You get used to it after a time.
She says it was almost 2 hours before I found out that they could lock and I could just glide.
Yes, that is generally how it goes. Even if you have someone to teach you, normally that is the one they let you find out yourself. Like, go ahead, just jump, lap, you'll be fine. And then you are not fine several times.
She's put to bed after. So I'm just bringing up the picture of Kithrenia to show to everybody.
Already there.
Oh, but fine. Although her hair is white and in that picture is not. So but that is where we're gonna close out for tonight. We're 3 minutes over.
Excuse me, I have a relative that you teased at and I would like to know more about.
Okay. Next time, tune in. Rosa has to fill you in and all that, so all right, I'm going to close this out here. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment. All of that's great for the algorithm and for other people to find us. If you're watching with us live, thank you so much. It means so much. The comments are delightful. Everybody loves interacting with chat. I'm sorry if I don't do it that much. I tend to be very laser focused on what I'm doing. So thank you. And going to close out as we do always here on Dirty 20 of that. If you have the spoons or the spell slots or the energy or whatever you call it to be nice to people, be nice. And if you don't, then, sorry, I had that backwards. If you have the spoons or the spell slots or the energy to be kind to people, be kind. And if you don't have that, be nice. A small amount of niceness can go wonders through the world, and the world could use that kind of wonder right now. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next Sunday. It will be a bit of a strange stream because Honorine is going to be out in Colorado, so she's just going to be playing off of a tablet, and Kevin will be our producer. So we'll figure all that out. It'll be a little bit crazy.
I hope we get a Kevin reaction camera.
I hope
I
we do
love
too.
Kevin reaction
Kevin
cam.
reaction
Yes.
cam is my favorite thing. It's gonna be so good. Tune in.
All right. We'll see you all. Thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.